Welcome to the most overrated films of 2017. It's your host Carcino here, and we're live on Screen Thing. This is the top 10. There have been a lot of overrated movies this year, but nothing that gets past this top 10. A lot of people call Geostorm overrated. I don't think it was really overrated. I just think we knew what to expect from that director. But yeah, that didn't even make the list. That's an honorable mention. Let's start off with Beauty and the Beast, the live action story at number 10. Beauty and the Beast is a ridiculous rendition of a boring, worn out movie that was completely overrated. And Josh Gad playing a homosexual character in the film got a lot of big raving reviews about it. And kids, parents kept taking their kids to see this movie, but it was completely overrated. Bored everybody. Bring your kids and return to the galaxy far, far away. Oh, just kidding. But I swear it was just not what everyone expected. So that's definitely like I was bored, stiff. So maybe for children this is exciting, but to me, no, no bestiality. Number 9, A Ghost Story. This movie was supposed to be, and some people say Casey Affleck was tremendous in this film. This film is so outstanding. This film is very boring, even for myself, who love these type of films that's full of dialogue, full of stories, shot very well. I'm not saying it's a bad film. It's just not anything that stands out. You won't remember it or focus on it in 2.4 seconds. You know, the Mara girl was decent, but the story is so bland and just so plain. It's like, where was the hype all about? Which brings us to number 7, the killing of the sacred deer. This is like the most confusing and weird. Everybody's out of control. Colin Farrell plays a unnecessarily weird character just for no reason, and it takes away from the actual film and the performance. Everyone's raving over this film because of the stars and they oh the performance, the perform. This story is nuts, and it has nothing to do with a deer. So look to my movie reviews too for the full movie reviews. We're just going through these right now. These are movies we've reviewed already, and we're moving forward. Number 6, Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner is a good movie. Visually stunning, probably the best visual aids you're ever going to see in a movie. This movie was so overrated because it's the longest gap in between sequels we have ever had. So people were so excited. They had Harrison Ford coming back. They had all these characters. This movie is 3 hours long. It's super confusing. And the end of the story is like, what? You know, the big surprise and unveiling was absolutely nothing at all. And the big payoff in Harrison Ford just basically was paid just to make an appearance in this film. He had no no plight to the film whatsoever. It was just so bland. The actual story and everything else just so bland. It was like no payoff in this film. Which brings us to number 5, especially for a 3 hour film. Number 5, Mother. Oh gosh, it has Oscar winning Oscar-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence in her most engaging scene ever. She's in a house in the woods, locked with her husband. She wants a child. He writes poetry. He wants everyone to like the poetry. And they thought everyone was smart enough to figure out the meaning of this film and the meaning of the story. If the story made any type of sense, it would have. The way they shot it, it's like, well, it's mother. She's the earth. No one cared. By the time it got by the time it got to the actual ending and all this stuff, people were just mortified and was ready to get out of this movie because the movie wasn't making any sense. None of the characters were basically explained, and with all this chaos and things going on, it was an artistic film that a director would like. Another director or people who are in film may say, wow, this is really interesting the way they shot this. But for the paying public, it is boring. So, oh, definitely. So, number six, I believe, was Mother on the list. So, let's recap. We got Beauty and the Beast at 10, Ghost Story at 9, The Killing of Sacred Deer is 8, 7 is Blade Runner 2049, 6 is Mother, and number 5 is Call Me By Your Name. A lot of critics has this as the number one movie of 2017, and they all need to be slapped very hard across the face and return back that check that was sent to them. Whatever credentials you were given, whatever privileges or accolades were allotted to you because of the simple fact that you want to rub shoulders with the big dog, that's fine. But Call Me By Your Name is like a Travel Lodge commercial in Italy. Doesn't look like it's shot very well at a lot of times in this film. And it's basically telling the story of, oh, remember the time when dad was almost a fag? Oh, well, gay or Skittles or whatever you want to call it. That's basically the movie. And it is a waste of time. And I'm still trying to figure out why in the world is Army Hammer in this film. But he's known to be hated in every film he's ever been in. This is the only film he's been in that he's actually getting praise. So that's about the only thing I have to say for Army Hammer. Number 4, The Post. The Post with Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep is Meryl Streep. To play this newspaper, the Washington Post, and everything that's going on in the Washington Post. She did a tremendous job. Unfortunately for her, Tom Hanks did not. He was Tom Hanks. He thought he was acting like an editor of a newspaper. He should have researched more. He seemed like a guy who was trying to imitate someone that worked at the Post instead of actually being an editor or studying to see how they work and how they operate. And he basically snoozes through this film. His performance was terrible in this film. And this is Tom Hanks. And not a lot of people have caught it. But his portrayal of an editor in this, I don't know, they could have just changed his title. He's a no-show. Sleep at the wheel. And the film pacing and everything else is, it's like, well, it's supposed to be the big payoff. It's not payoff. It's come off as not witty dialogue. And it's boring. Like Molly's Game, that dialogue, it's been done a lot better. They should have had Aaron Sorkin write this entire script, and he would have fixed it. Because you can, this is how you tell bad writing or spotty writing and a spotty director from a great director. But if you watch the news, my God, or the commercial, the variety says it's great. I'm like, who? The Five Who That Lifted What? That movie? Which brings us to number three, War for the Planet of the Apes. This could have easily been number one on my list. I've never seen so much hype, and this comes from the internet more than anything. And Sergen should be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor. This is before the movie's even out. People are riding off the wave of the second film, which was the best of the saga. And you got high hopes going into this, looking at the commercials, looking at the poster boards. And when you go in, the payoff is not there. So now you start reaching because you already jumped off the ledge before the film came out. Now you can't give it an honest review. And I've seen people who I respect their, you know, being movie aficionados. I said, well, I respect them. I subscribe to them. I watch their reviews. And I said, well, let's see them give us an honest review because I've just seen this film. And I know I'm not alone. And I watched them give the fakest movie review I've ever seen. Because obviously they had some type of relationship. Somebody gave them an action figure for free or some type of movie props, or you can keep the poster type stuff. So when that happened, they become skewed and started misinforming the general public. And I had to respond in the comment section because this movie is terrible. This movie is so overrated. It makes no sense. Caesar has very little importance in this film at all. Every time there's another situation, it is solved by another person. They bring in these people with these diseases. They quick fix everything. Woody Harrelson character has no plight. He's definitely typecast, but then, they definitely casted the wrong guy for him. And this is not a role Woody could play. He was not great in this role whatsoever. His character it's just sort of build up to nothing. With the way they had him go out. They had meaningless people in with some type of weird virus that made them not be able to talk. And to think that would tie into how the movie would play out, it ends up being not an important thing at all, as all the humans are wiped out with an avalanche, snow avalanche, and all the apes do is run around the movie trying to escape instead of actually going to war. This movie is so overrated that the people who reviewed it ignored these slight and obvious things about the movie. Quick fixes and everything they could find about any other movie. They ignored every single piece of this film just so they can fanboy it all the way in because they love the second film. Terrible. Terrible. And anybody who had to suffer through those movie reviews, I feel sorry for you. Because that movie was bad. No one talks about it now because it reflects in the box office. Number two, Lady Bird. Lady Bird was done by the girl who was in the movie where she dies. She was the little girl. Mark Wahlberg was in it, and she was trying to find a killer and all this stuff. So it was a sad movie. She played that girl, and she basically Greta Gerwig. I've heard Greta Gerwig's name more than anything I've heard in the entire last 6 months. Greta Gerwig, her most epic performance. I'm like, she's not even in the film. Greta Gerwig is directing this. This is her first time behind the camera. Is this movie well directed? No. Is this an outstanding film? No. It's a coming of age film. It's okay. It's good. It's not great. And it's only good because of the performance of Laurie Metcalf. Laurie Metcalf's performance carries this movie. This movie would just be another bland movie that gets lost in the shuffle because none of it makes any sense at some points. And what they allow things to happen and things they don't allow to happen. When you need an emotional pull or some with some type of heart or strain or anybody of character, because the father when he plays a guy who's just basically don't have a lot of character to him. So he's basically in his own shell, but that was the role he was typecast to play. It is not an outstanding film. There are tons of films better than this. I've already done my top 10 films of the year, and they're better than this. Lady Bird is completely overrated, and some people have it as their number one film of the year. Completely stupid. Now, Dunkirk is number one on the list because a lot of people have this, and this is like highly recommended people as the number one movie of the year. How? Why? I have no idea, but it's in like everyone's top 10. It's a period piece, Civil War, and I mean World War II film, and people love war. They love period pieces. It's Christopher Nolan. The sound is amazing. The visuals and the shots are amazing in this film. The only problem is that's it. The dialogue is almost non-existent. There's like, is there a script? These regular boats trying to come help bring all these guys home to shore who are stuck there, and Nazis are gaining on them, and they got a couple of fighter planes trying to keep the Japanese fighters, I mean the Nazi fighters, off of them. And they're fighting in the sky, which is led by, oh, sorry about that, that sneeze messed me up. Tom Hardy. That's what I'm trying to think of. Tom Hardy. So Tom Hardy is the lone American pilot that's over there with fighting the Nazis and keeping people safe while the war is happening in the sky. And the problem is there's no lead character. There's no development. There's no character to gravitate to follow through the story. As soon as it comes on, you just brought right into the war. So unless you're 85 and up, this will not be your film and should not be in the top 10 greatest films of the year. Those people bought their spot, and people have made money off this. People keep running to the theater to go see it over and over again. I don't know how, because this film is not something I can sit through another time to save my life, as it was that boring. You don't know any of the characters' names. No one, the one guy, I guess, who was on the boat, that's the only guy you could really gravitate to. It's just a bunch of guys yelling at each other because they're in the middle of war, and the shots and the visuals great, and it's not a bad movie. It's just not a very good one, and it is the most overrated film of 2017. It's your boy Carcino, and I am out.